Although we use language almost continuously throughout the day, in our speech, our thoughts, and even in our dreams, we tend to take it for granted. In this lecture, we will examine languages of the world, including types and sizes. This is important to geographers to gain a better understanding of how communication between humans can take on many forms. Language is the single most important element of a culture, and it is the basic form of communication between people. It is what holds the culture together. In other words, language is what people use to communicate thoughts to one another. The definition of language, as defined by the authors, is a system of communication based on symbols that have agreed upon meaning. However, not every language has the same thought processes. Different languages express thought in different ways. For example, in the photo, San communities, some of which are located in the Kalahari Desert region of southern Africa, historically were egalitarian and governed themselves through a system of group consciences that did not require a police force or a constitution. Thus, their languages did not initially include words for police or constitution. Dialects, on the other hand, are not separate languages but a particular variety of a language characterized by distinctive vocabulary, grammar, and/or pronunciation. For example, in the United States, a southern dialect would say the word y'all, versus in the north, you guys, or even yous, which carries the same meaning. Dialect is different from accent, which is a difference in inflection of the use of the same word. Some languages are very similar and therefore have a high degree of mutual intelligibility, meaning two people who speak different languages may be able to understand one another if the two languages are similar. For example, people who speak Serbian can also understand someone speaking Croatian and vice versa, even though they are considered two different languages. Not all languages are spoken and some were never written. Sign language is a form of non-spoken languages used to communicate with people whose hearing or speech are impaired. Sign languages are a type of body language based on body movements, especially hand motions instead of sounds. Sign languages also differ from country to country, and therefore no universal sign language exists. Specialized languages might use simplified pictures and symbols to express an idea, whereas tactile languages communicate via sense of touch. Specialized languages are designed for specific purposes, not necessarily for everyday communication among people. The photo at the top is a blind person reading a tactile relief political map that is in Braille. Geographic education for the visually impaired often uses textual differences to communicate spatial information. The photo on the bottom left is an example of a semaphore alphabet consisting of colored flags held in various positions to signal different letters. The peace sign was created from the semaphore letters for N and D, for the first letters of nuclear disarmament. The photo on the bottom right is a sign in Malaysia reminding people, especially visitors, that public display of affections are not permitted. The difference between a natural language and an artificial language is that a natural language is a language that has emerged and evolved within living or historic human communities, whereas an artificial language is intentionally constructed by people for international communication or fictional purposes. For example, Ch4 Tolkien invented the Elfish language featured in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Some artificial languages have been designed for the purpose of creating a universal language, a language that could be understood and used by everyone in the world. Body language is highly situational and can vary from one culture group to another. Another way we use body language is in our greetings. The photo on the left, business people bow in greeting at a crosswalk in Tokyo's financial district. In Saudi Arabia, a traditional greeting between male friends and relatives involves a handshake and a kiss on each cheek, as shown on the right. There are approximately 6,900 different languages in the world today. The chart shows the number of languages from a very large to a very small amount of speakers. More than half of the world's languages have fewer than 10,000 native speakers. The bar graph at the top shows the estimated number of native speakers of the 9 very large languages. Hindi and Bengali languages are primarily associated with India. Globalization and demographic change has contributed to the changes in sizes of languages. Please pause the video and answer the following. Study the bar graph and table on the previous slide and describe how the 9 very large languages compare and contrast in terms of their global distribution. In your own words, using the text as a guide, be thorough and specific with your answer.